Have you ever stopped to wonder just how long Frieza from Dragon Ball would get put away if he was actually charged for all the terrible things he's done throughout the series? Well, I went on a classic Dragon Ball binge to find this exact answer. And let me tell you, his list of straight atrocities would make even Eren Yeager blush. I mean, the guy was more happy to enslave an entire race before he was even out of diapers. Well, today, we're going through each one of the crimes that Frieza has committed throughout the series, starting with some of the more TV-friendly crimes, all the way to some truly horrible stuff he's done. We begin with Frieza's first chronological moment in the series during the Broly movie. Here, Frieza is just a young mutant alien thing, and his propensity for cruelty was pretty clear. His father, King Cold, saw how twisted yet powerful his son already was, even as a child. So he decided to hand over the control of Saiyan planet Vegeta to him as a way of introducing him to the family business of conquering and enslaving entire planets. His first words to the Saiyans should give you a pretty good idea of how well-mannered this psychotic kid was.
Hello, monkeys!
By this point, the Frieza family had already brutally conquered many planets in the universe before being handed off to Frieza. But once ownership of the family trade was handed over to him, he's on the hook for all that stuff now. We'll get to that in a minute though. For now, we'll start with a softball by only counting his enslavement of the Saiyans, which would give him a sentence of 20 years for every case of enslavement. Seeing as how planet Vegeta was home to thousands of Saiyans at the time, let's say 10,000, Frieza's current sentence already stands at roughly 200,000 years. And he's still a kid. Well, it turns out enslavement would be his most friendly criminal act against the Saiyans, because he would even soon wipe out the entire planet simply because he was a little worried one of them would dye their hair blonde one day, aka go Super Saiyan. First though, he kills King Vegeta and some of his soldiers after they try revolting against Frieza in order to keep him from taking baby Vegeta. This leads him to gather all the Saiyans from across the universe that are all on missions to make sure he can take them all out in one fell swoop. Goku's dad Bardock does his best to try and overthrow Frieza's rule, but he and the Saiyan planet are wiped out with a single energy blast from Frieza.
Oh my! This is stupendous! Wow! What a great show! Unbelievable!
Who just sits there and enjoy the explosion like a little kid at SeaWorld. This puts an end to the Saiyan race other than a few lingering ones that were away on other planets, like Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz, Goku, and Broly. So that being said, not only is Frieza committing mass deletion, he's performing something that rides with pesticide. Kinda. This merits two separate sentences in my opinion. It's the least I can do for my fallen Saiyan brothers. Since previously we settled on 10,000 Saiyans living on this planet, the deletion of that many people would incur 10,000 separate death sentences, for wiping out an entire race of people, essentially. This would give him a life sentence for each individual life taken. Well, this one's a bit dicier, since Frieza can live a super long time, so we'll slap him with a 100-year sentence, which would tack on a whopping 1 million years. Add that to the 200,000 from enslaving all the Saiyans, and we're looking at 1.2 million years of Frieza playing pickup basketball on the prison court. Well, surprisingly, or I guess unsurprisingly, considering how demented this guy is, this wasn't the only time that Frieza destroyed a whole planet. He actually does it 2 more times, including one that Vegeta sees him destroy simply because he thinks the people on that planet are a bit too rebellious. This man treats planets like they're cell phones. It stops working the way you want it to, and so you toss it and move on to the next one. For this planet, not only do we not get a name, but we also don't have any real idea of how many lives were on it. But I think that we can safely say it was more than the Saiyans and closer to the population of the planet we live on. I'm gonna lowball the number a bit though and put it at 100,000 lives, and with a 100-year life sentence, plus corresponding death sentence for each life to cover the pesticide part, we're looking at an additional 100,000 death penalties and 10 million years in prison. These numbers are getting so laughably large that it reminds me just how menacing Frieza really was across the universe before Goku came in and blew him to smithereens. It's stated in the series that by the time that we got to the Namek saga, Frieza had enslaved 448 planets and had influenced over 70% of the known universe. It's impossible to tell how many of those planets he destroyed, but at least we know that they were enslaved. So if we take our default population number of 100,000 living beings per planet, we're left with 44,800,000 enslaved people. And if we slap Frieza with a 20-year sentence for each one, which is the penalty for owning a slave, That adds to a mind-boggling 896 million years to his time behind bars. But believe it or not, we're not done smacking this deranged alien with the sweet hammer of justice, because we're just getting started with the wicked and straight up heartless stuff that we've seen him do firsthand as the series goes on. We get a much closer look at his brand of evil during the Namek saga, beginning with his decimation of the planet and its people. This was all done for the purpose of locating the Namekian Dragon Balls, so that he can wish to give himself immortality. And that's pretty smart, because that's the only way he'll be able to do his time and have any hopes of getting out. Just before he gets to Namek though, he orders one of his soldiers named Kui, whatever that means, to subjugate yet another planet. We don't know the name of the planet, but we do know the names of two of its inhabitants, Zeshin and Bun. The attack on Zeshin and Bun's planet is enforced by Kui and a group of 11 other Frieza Force soldiers, who rush in and kill several of his people to conquer the planet and make the inhabitants profess Frieza as their new ruler. If they did this, then their lives would be spared. At least that's what they said. In reality, their plan from the very beginning was to wipe out everyone on the planet anyways, and they would rather just put in less effort to do it. Well, a group of children from the planet, which include Zeshin and Bun himself, were able to get away by using an invisible spaceship, while other children who fled were taken out if their spaceships were caught in space. They managed to escape and actually helped Bulma and friends find a shortcut to Namek, where they would soon run into Frieza. Although Frieza didn't carry out the onslaught himself, that would still fall under the murder for hire in the eyes of the law, and carry a sentence of life in prison if successful, and 10 years if it wasn't. So in other words, Zeshin and the other kids that got away would account for only 10 years. Without much information on the exact numbers, let's add on 1,000 life sentences for the ones that got zapped on the planet, and 20 counts of attempted murder for hire for the kids on the ship, for good measure. That's 100,200 years. Once on planet Namek, Frieza and his minions raid nearby Namekian villages for their Dragon Balls, managing to steal 4 in total. They pretty much wipe out everyone except the ones that knew where the Dragon Balls were, get the Dragon Balls, and then take them out too. Each village would have only 1 ball, so he and his minions did this at least 4 times, but likely more. Soon, Zarbon, one of his goons, informs Frieza that one of their soldiers had just arrived on Namek as well and is pursuing Vegeta. They eventually find him, and seeing as how Vegeta had a Zenkai boost or 2 by this point, he says that 2 of his soldiers should attack him together, this being Zarbon and Dodoria, who looks like a literal walking scrotum. Well, Frieza eventually goes looking for a 5th Dragon Ball and goes on to ransack the village as he did the others, and tries to get the whereabouts of the ball from the elder of the village, Muri. He refuses to hand it over, though, which starts to make Frieza really impatient. He then orders Zarbon to kill everyone except Muri and the children. Seeing that Muri still isn't budging, Frieza then tells them that he'll take out the kids too then. Yeah, that's right, this guy's cruelty knows no bounds. Suddenly, though, 3 Namekian warriors arrive to defend the village. Frieza, unimpressed, has Dodoria take care of them. Finally, Muri agrees to hand over the Dragon Ball on the condition that the children be spared. The psychopath can't be satisfied with that though, because he orders Muri to give them the location of the 2 remaining ones after getting rejected yet again by the Namekian. He sticks to his word of targeting the kids next. Muri yells at Dende and Cargo to run, preparing to make a final stand. But that doesn't stop Frieza from blasting Cargo in the manga and having Dodoria do it for him in the anime. Either way, he was responsible for that, and that tacks on another life sentence for him. So while we're at it, let's count up everything else that he's done since arriving on Namek so far. Well, he's stolen 5 Dragon Balls, which 5 counts of thefts get him a year of jail time each, plus all the lives he took from the villages he ran through, which we estimate to be at about 50 Namekians per village, so 250 life sentences, equaling 250,000 years. Yeah, the number just keeps piling up, but spoiler, things are gonna somehow get much worse. As Dende attempts to escape, Dodoria gives chase, preparing to kill the child as well. It is only the timely intervention of Gohan that disrupts Frieza's plans. The Saiyan child delivers a powerful kick to Dodoria, sending him flying. Frieza and Zarbon, startled by the sudden interference, observe as Gohan and Krillin work together to arrest Dende and flee. Frieza, intrigued by the newcomers, notes that they are not Namekians and ordered Dodoria to pursue them. Dodoria, angered and humiliated, flies off in pursuit. Frieza eventually leaves with all the Dragon Balls and heads back to his ship, hoping that Vegeta comes to steal the balls that he's stolen himself. Lots of balls are changing hands at this point. Fast forwarding things a bit, the dastardly space warlord takes out one of his subordinates, Orlin, for not much of a reason. pretty much kills a Namekian warrior named Nail, gets his stolen Dragon Balls stolen from him, and then tracks them down only to find out that they're no longer usable since Grand Elder Guru died, and without him, no wishes and no immortality, and he's getting 200 more years added on for those earlier killings. Man, Frieza is down bad at this point. He killed people for damn near nothing, so now that he's actually really pissed, the Dragon Balls that can't be used anymore, Krillin, Gohan, Vegeta, and Dende, are about to see what cranky Frieza looks like. He gets into it with Vegeta first, and the Saiyan Prince gives him a little trouble, so Frieza hits puberty really quick and gains a new beefed up form that easily cleans up Vegeta. And from that point, he decides that he just wants to start torturing them, because of course he does that. So he impales Krillin with one of his horns, but is later healed up by Dende, so he's not dead yet. He then beats up on Gohan a bit before an upgraded Piccolo shows up to save the day, at least momentarily. See, Frieza changes forms like you change your underwear. Almost never, but quite often when things get messy. Yeah, that's right. I'm telling you to change your underwear once in a while, buddy. Anyways, Frieza changes costumes and gains yet another powerful buff, lapping Piccolo in power once again, and starts decimating him with an attack called, and this is the real name, the Crazy Finger Beam. Sounds silly, but it sure doesn't feel like it because it leaves Piccolo badly injured. Frieza then goes on in yet another costume change, his final one actually, and then takes out Dende, a child in cold blood. Vegeta tries taking him on again, but ends up getting completely brutalized by Frieza, who holds him up by his hair and starts relentlessly pummeling Vegeta right in the spine as the rest look on in horror. Other than the costume change, which should have been a crime in itself, Frieza badly beats Vegeta and Piccolo once, giving him 2 counts of aggravated battery at 20 years each. He takes out Dende, getting him a 100-year life sentence, and tortures Krillin and Vegeta, which in their case an aggravated torture for how badly they were beaten, earning him another 200 years and life sentences, for a total of 340 more years. But before finishing off Vegeta, Goku shows up to finally give the albino salamander a real fight. But Frieza's pettiness knows no bounds, and shoots Vegeta right through the heart, eventually ending the Saiyan Prince's life. This kicks off the main event of this whole saga, Frieza versus Goku. But there's no crime for fighting, so we don't care too much about that. Sure, it's a cool fight, but you can watch that on your own time. We're gonna jump ahead a bit to see what's probably the climax of the whole battle, when Goku has the rest of the team distract Frieza long enough to summon a massive spirit bomb. Goku yeets it at him and seemingly takes him out as it crashes into the planet's surface and creates a large crater. Well, considering that this video isn't over yet, he obviously didn't die, but the Z Fighters didn't know that unfortunately. So while they start relaxing a bit, thinking the job is done, Frieza pops out with some injuries, but still far from finish. He then pretty much tells Goku, alright, you got me, but now I'm gonna get you. Without warning, he shoots a death beam at Goku, but Piccolo tanks it instead, killing him instantly. Honestly, Piccolo got it the easy way out, because Frieza's next target is Krillin, who gets the most brutal end of all. He starts levitating against his will, and starts getting this funny exploding feeling inside him. He screams for help while Goku pleads for Frieza to stop, but he doesn't. He detonates Krillin's own ki and makes him pop like a balloon. Those 2 devastating casualties earn Frieza another 200 years and life sentences, and one pissed off Goku, who's in a deep rage, and finally transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan. From there, Goku starts piecing Frieza up, making him more and more frustrated. Being the big baby that he is, he shoots a death ball attack that slowly starts making its way into the planet's core, creating a literal ticking time bomb that will destroy the planet in 5 minutes. The fight continues to escalate until Goku accidentally reveals that Porunga is back, meaning that the Dragon Balls can be used again. Hearing this, and knowing he's getting cooked by a Super Saiyan Goku right now, he flies over to Porunga and tries wishing for immortality, like he wanted this whole time. However, Porunga hits him with K and doesn't grant the wish, because it needs to be done in the Namekian language. Instead, Dende wishes for everyone except Frieza and Goku to be taken to Earth. Oh, the everyone I'm referring to is all the people that Frieza took out that were wished back. Hey, they might have all been revived, but we're not taking any years off of Frieza's sentence for it because, you know, screw that guy. So now that Frieza's stuck on a dying planet with a guy that's beating the crap out of him, but the ever-stubborn alien, Frieza continues to try and prove that he's the true Sigma, but ends up eventually slicing himself in half with his own attack. Being the little weasel he is, he pleads for Goku to spare his life, and he agrees, giving him a small amount of ki to keep living. But like a true sore loser, he tries pulling a fast one on Goku by whipping that chunk of power back at him. Wrong move, my friend. Goku hit him with the... and finally putting an end to Frieza's reign of terror. At least on planet Namek, because we'll be back, of course. Speaking of which, I asked my local police station what the jail time is for destroying an entire planet, and as you'd expect, they told me to get off the galaxy gas and go home, and now the FBI is parked in front of my house. So, that being said, let's just mix together a few real offenses and add those numbers together. So first, he's guilty of crimes against humanity, so that's a 100-year life sentence. He's also got ecocide, use of weapons of mass destruction, war crimes, and terrorism, which each carry their own life sentences, adding up to 500 years plus first-degree attempted murder for trying his darndest to take out Goku, bringing the total to 600, which honestly, for destroying an entire freaking planet is not as bad as I thought. Now, this is assuming that there was no one else left on the planet when it went boom, which is a safe assumption to make considering that Gohan and his friends wished for everyone on the planet to be taken to Earth, but that may not have included the wildlife there. Deletion of an animal can carry a sentence up to 10 years, and using best guesses, it's likely that there were at least 50,000 wild animals on this planet, and that's a conservative guess. So adding that to the 600, and we're looking at 500,600 years for destroying planet Namek. Well, believe it or not, Frieza still has one more planet he'll destroy in the series, and it's one that you'll be more familiar with because you live there. But first, Frieza, or what's left of him, ends up being found in the vacuum of space by his dad King Cold. Well, he must have been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 at the time because he decks out his son in high-tech robotic parts, bringing him back stronger and saltier than ever. No time in trying to get his revenge on Goku, so he travels to his planet, which some of you may know as Earth, and plans on taking out the Saiyan and his loved ones before blowing the planet up, as he tends to do. But a Saiyan from the future, named Trunks, ends up intervening. Frieza didn't learn his lesson from the last blonde-haired fighter apparently because he tries taking on Trunks, only to be thoroughly embarrassed in the most savage way you can imagine. This man Trunks chopped Frieza up into little bits and then vaporizes what's left before taking care of his dad King Cold too. For the attempted deletion of Trunks, he gets 20 years. But the tricky thing to get him on is the invasion of Earth, because, as you imagine, there's no specific laws out there to protect against aliens. So we'll categorize this as war crimes against a country, which carries a life sentence. And considering that there are 195 countries in the world, that's a 100-year life sentence for each one, totaling 195,000 years, plus the 20 for trying to whack Trunks. His crimes against planet Earth don't end there though, because sometimes later, one of his stooges, named Sorbet, manages to wish Frieza back with the Dragon Balls. However, he's still in pieces from Trunks playing Fruit Ninja with him back during the Cell Saga. So he has to cook in a healing pod for a bit before returning to be the menace we all know and love. He quickly kills the subordinate to test his strength and takes another named Tagoma to be his training partner as he go on a 4-month training journey to surpass Goku. My guy Tagoma got dealt a pretty crappy hand here because Frieza would beat him to within an inch of his life, have him heal, and then come back to do it all over again, as Frieza wanted to enhance his torture-focused fighting style and cook up ways to beat Goku alive and suffering as long as possible. After 4 months of training, he invades Earth yet again, but this time he manages to cause some real chaos, destroying the entirety of North City. This of course catches the attention of the Z Fighters, and face to face with Frieza once again, Krillin is recognized by the mad alien as that one bald guy he blew up on Namek. He has no interest in doing it again though, so he jokingly offers an entire planet to anyone that kills Krillin. The Z Fighters put up the best fight that they can, and Captain Ginyu even randomly makes an appearance. The main course soon arrives, and Goku and Vegeta finally return to their training with Whis. He eventually reveals his new Golden Frieza form, and the Saiyans follow suit with their Super Saiyan God Blue transformations, and this ends up getting the better of him. However, if there's one thing we know about Vegeta, is that he loves to fumble a fight. Instead of finishing Frieza right there and then, he unwittingly gives him enough time to blow up the entire planet. Whis does end up reversing time and undoing this, allowing Goku to finish Frieza off, but this doesn't undo his sentence. Nice try, buddy. So let's count them up, shall we? He gets 100 years for killing a subordinate, 100 for the cruel torture of Tagoma, 20 years for trying to have his soldiers kill off Krillin, 195,000 for invading Earth again, and finally, for the extermination of the human race, he gets the death penalty plus a life sentence for each life taken. And considering that there's over 8 billion people on the planet, that's 8 billion death penalties, and a calculator melting 800 billion years of jail time. Add that with the other crimes we just listed, and we're looking at 800,195,220 years for shenanigans. Oh wait, we gotta also tally up all the sentences of the animals he completely eradicated when he blew up Earth too, getting 100 years for each of the 8.7 million different species that inhabit the Earth. There's another 870 million years to bring the real grand total to 800,870,195,220 years. And remember, we still have to add up all the other crimes that he's been sentenced for, so this isn't even the final number. From here, Frieza ends up coming back for a short time to participate in the Tournament of Power, where the universe's strongest fighters have to fight to win a massive tournament, or else their entire universe gets wiped out by Zeno. Speaking of which, Thanos snapping an entire universe away would probably earn you a year or two in prison, I'd assume. So let us know below if you want us to cover Zeno's crimes next, or any other Dragon Ball character for that matter, because even the good guys have some time to do. But anyways, from here, Frieza participates in the tournament and does some fighting and slight torturing. But this is all sanctioned within the tournament rules, so he doesn't get in any trouble for that. He does, however, get absolutely humiliated by Top in his God of Destruction form, so that's pretty funny.
Most may fear this power, but not me. It's a trifle. Fine, 2 hands it is, but it's still of no import. No, these cheap theatrics are futile. They don't train. They don't.
Seeing as there's not much else that we can pin on him, let's get to the moment that we all been waiting for, counting up Frieza's official prison sentence. We start with 1.2 million years and the 10,000 death sentences for enslaving and wiping out the Saiyan race, plus the 100,000 death penalties and the 10 million years for the planet that Vegeta saw him destroy. 896 million for all the planets that he once enslaved, 100,200 for ordering the ransacking of Zeshin and Bun's planet, 751,340 for his actions on Namek, 195,020 for invading Earth the first time, and finally the big ass number for his resurrection F shenanigans, bringing the grand total to 801,778,441,780 years in prison, plus 8,110,000 death penalties. Needless to say, our boy Frieza is going to need a lawyer on the level of Saul Goodman to shave some years off with that time, and maybe even have him out before the next big bang.